Welcome to Dateline New Haven on WNHH-FM, New Haven's home for community radio. I'm Paul Bass, inviting you to look behind the scenes at the stories that make our community tick. We got somebody here who makes New Haven tick every day. If something matters and it needs to be said, this woman says it, she does it. And this week on Sunday, on MayDay, she's going to make sure New Haven celebrates an important, though little noticed holiday right. Say good morning to Catherine John of Black and Brown United. Is that your main ID?
Yep, Black and Brown United in action. Thank you, Paul, for having me.
Thank you so much for coming in the WNHH studio.
So great to be here.
So, Catherine, as people know, you're also known as CJ. If you read The Independent, you know about some of the really important issues. She's been involved from the selection of police chief to period poverty at the state capitol to healthcare reforms. But the first thing, the main thing we're going to talk about today is what's timely on the agenda is MayDay is Monday.
International Workers' Day. That is on Sunday. And we will be at the New Haven Green starting at noon. Mm-hmm. So we hope to see everyone there. And
if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to ask you to get a little closer to the mic when you talk, just so I can hear you, almost like you're almost touching it.
Okay.
And so MayDay, a lot of people, like I never knew till I was in my 20s or 30s, which I guess was a long time ago, the that is not just a happy day to go around the maypole.
No.
It actually was originally the International Day to Recognize Workers. It was the original Labor Day, correct, CJ? I got my history right?
Yes.
And then was it in the 1900s after a series of strikes, or was it the late 1800s that American business leaders decided that they needed to co-opt the labor movement by having a Workers' Day that wasn't affiliated with organized labor? Mm-hmm. And that's how we got September the 1st. Was it September 3rd, September 1st?
I think I think it's September 3rd we're talking or something like that.
But that MayDay was the original labor worker holiday.
Absolutely.
It wasn't a corporate holiday.
No, and that was the thing, right? Because at first it came out as a corporate funded something. And then it was like, no. We have to recognize all the workers. And, this particular MayDay is particularly critical considering what we just came out of quarantine and 2 years of collective hardship and really facing ourselves and facing the realities of which, you either decide to look at it or look away. And here in New Haven in particular, we've seen our share of housing loss, job loss, persons getting infected, sick, and dying from COVID-19. And the realization that, again, it is very expensive to be poor in Connecticut, and especially in New Haven. Most of our Black and brown people who may be or may not be employed by Yale, if they are employed by Yale, tend to work as dishwashers or cleaning staff. And these are all the very essential folks in our community. So this particular year, we're really pressing on that. Where's our recovery? I'm still looking for my recovery pool. So maybe on Sunday we'll all come together and we'll find it on the green because many things have been said, but I still can't find my recovery. I mean, the alleged, recovery funding was really an advance on our personal income taxes, and many of us were waiting on some big refunds that did not happen. And right now, as we're talking, people are facing eviction, and increasing utility costs. It's just very, very sad.
Well, CJ, I'm so interested when you were just talking now, I hadn't thought about this, because every year we have MayDay on the green and, progressive groups make it, to claim it, and the labor movement claims it. And we have hours of music and speeches and fun on the green. You're saying it's going to be 12 to 4 p.m.
It's 12 to 4. And
ending with a march for the 6.
Yep.
What I was just thinking about when you're talking now is about this moment in time. So you're put in perspective of, coming down after the pandemic. You covered a lot of ground there because you also talked about Black and brown people working at Yale and jobs and I had two thoughts about that.
Sure.
First of all, narrowly about the Black and brown workers at Yale, workers as dishwashers and blue collar jobs. The part I always like to throw in there is union. So people who have those jobs really want to get the jobs at Yale. It's not because Yale's nice. It's because over 15 years, I think it was 6 different unions tried to organize those workers, Local 34 to join with 35 to have strength to really take on the university, succeeded. And as a result of something like 7 strikes in 35 years, they have a good contract. Like if you're a dishwasher or a custodian at Yale, you're going to get health insurance. You're going to maybe be able to buy a house. You're going to be able to retire.
But you said a word there. That's a maybe. It's a big maybe.
Right. I'm not saying that it's where you want it to be, but compared to those jobs in non-union workplaces, when you have a union that's a strong union, you can get so many so much better benefits than if you're not unionized.
And that is true.
And that's what I think partly this Labor Day, May
it
Day
all
is
comes
about.
Out, yes, it all absolutely it comes down to organization. And us, myself being from quote poor country, Trinidad and Tobago, we believe heavily in union organizing, heavily. Because that's where the workers get their voice. That's where they could say, this is wrong and I don't like it and I don't like how I'm being treated. Please, recognize that I have rights too. And you're absolutely correct, because what is pivotal, in my opinion, for this particular May Day is that we just went right back in time. This is why May Day started in the first place. We're right back there. A lot of what we're about to see socioeconomically would be flashback in time. We've done this before. We've been through the racism and we're still going through it. That's the point. That's the pivotal moment with this particular May Day. The fact that we thought the housing crash was over. No, it's not. We're about to really see the housing crashing.
The evictions.
That's right. So
foreclosures.
That's right. The evictions, the foreclosures, the increase in utility costs, the joblessness. You're going to see people who are overqualified working jobs that you're like, man, what is really going on? Because a lot of businesses are going out of business. A lot of places are not able to afford the cost of living, the cost of operating in this country, much less Connecticut, where it's very expensive.
We're talking about workers' rights, labor rights, working class rights. May Day 22, which is the time to talk about that, among other days.
That's right.
May 1st, International Workers' Day, the real Labor Day, the original Labor Day.
Yes.
Run by labor as opposed to on behalf of the name of labor. On the New Haven Green, 12 to 6, culminating in a march. Catherine John, one of the organizers of the event. I just want to before we get down to specifics of the event, you made a second point about this moment in time.
Yes.
Coming out of the pandemic.
Yes.
What we've seen coming out of the pandemic for a number of reasons is a resurgence in labor organizing.
Yes.
And for the first time in recent history, some really interesting successes.
Yes.
An Amazon warehouse.
Yes.
Starbucks, or the new working class labor where the jobs are often.
Yeah.
And that's very interesting to me, because last night there was a march yesterday afternoon in downtown New Haven on behalf of graduate students who were trying to organize.
Yep.
What I didn't know till I edited the story, because we had a different reporter there, I wish they'd publicized this part, was that it wasn't just for the graduate students. The Graduate Hotel, the old Duncan Hotel on Chapel Street, just opened. They upscaled that place. And the workers signed in a letter. They got the signatures for a union election. That's huge. That's huge. The Duncan wasn't organized. Duncan didn't have many people there. It was kind of run down. But like this place, they got the bucks. They're going to the Yale audience. It was a national chain. And that's, to me, that's really fitting into this pivotal moment, the labor movement, when there is this opportunity because of all sorts of new classes of work where the working class jobs have shifted without the protections in industries that had unions. Younger people are considering unions again.
And, you're right. You're absolutely right. And for me, as a Black immigrant single parent, it shows that it's finally, the door is kind of opening, right? Because here's the thing about COVID-19. What you chose to ignore before it made you face it. It made you face the fact that we have police that are very aggressive. It made you face the fact that we have people being detained and incarcerated because what? Because of numbers. It made you face the healthcare inequity. It made you face what's really going on in our education systems, because one of the things that first came out with COVID-19 was, what are we really doing with our future? What are we doing with our future? Do they know about their past? Do they know about how we organized and we fought for rights? Do they realize that, at the state of technology we're in, the transition to remote really should not have been so hard, but yet it was a struggle? What does that really mean for the quality of education and life for our Black and brown people in New Haven, Connecticut? You look around, I look around, and I see less of us owning houses and having opportunities for growth. And COVID-19.
And look who's buying the houses.
Exactly.
This mega lord empire.
It's a whole coalition of slumlords.
They have the inside.
Yes.
They get the houses earlier before neighbors can buy
them. That's it. We get exploited.
They have cash.
Yes.
So they're able to turn around a deal quickly.
We get hit with debt. Like right now, we have people who are working to recover from a debt. And, we're made to feel guilty and as if we did something wrong. Black and brown debt is very stigmatized. It's either you went to jail or you squandered your money. Well, what about the cost of living? What if it's very expensive to be poor? It's very expensive to be poor here. The average rent for a 1-bedroom is just astronomical, and that's without utilities. That's what I'm saying.
You see? In Westville.
And right. Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's all the zoning. It's all the things that we were denied access. Access is the word. Access to the good paying jobs. And yes, you're right. It's good to have a job where it's unionized, but we also want opportunity.
And you have to still fight when you have that union.
That's
it gets
right.
taken away unless you
This is
organize. It's never by the volition of the employer.
No.
You have to fight for it and fight for it.
Well,
and
look
keep
at what
fighting
happened
for
to our essential workers, right? We got that redefined, didn't we? COVID-19 started off with saying, and rightfully so, yes, we value our doctors and nurses. But what about all the fast food, restaurant employees who kept us going, who made the coffee, who made the breakfasts, right? What about those people? What about the people, the teachers' aides and all those folks, all, the lesser considered the garbage men, all of them.
At the most risk of getting
Yes.
COVID-19, the least protected.
That's it. And that's why we fought for their vaccination. We had to fight for that. Everything was a fight. COVID, just brought out the lesser acknowledged, we talk about racism, but we don't really hear much about how we're really resolving it, do we? For instance, we talk about Yale and taxing Yale. Well, here's the thing. On May 1st, let's show up on the streets and say, hey, Connecticut, let's change the law so that we can tax Yale, because that's a big part of the problem. And that we demand
I
that
guess
Yale...
I would see that a little differently from you.
Well...
It would be great if the state could tax Yale.
Right.
But the real money is if the federal government pursues Charles
Absolutely.
Grassley's bill, because the big money is when hedge funds are funding the expansion of elite universities.
That's right.
And you got to separate universities that have endowments that are billions of dollars from other nonprofits.
That's it.
And I mean, he's a Republican. He made the argument. I mean, they have their political reasons because that's not their base.
Right.
But that elite universities are in fact businesses,
Yes.
multi-billion-dollar businesses that are
Yes.
benefiting from tax breaks.
Yes.
And that's where I think the tax rate needs to really be lifted. Because if we do it at the state, it's a very small chunk of
Well, why
change.
can't we do both?
Oh, we can. That chunk of change
Yeah.
is that's buildings that are part educational, part not.
Yes.
But the big money, the billions, are in the federal tax exemptions for
Absolutely.
elite universities.
And then, supplement that by demanding that Yale has to provide X number of full, fully paid tuition, right, for students, residents of New Haven, like pay it from start to finish. Give us back our opportunity, right? We're being driven out of our own cities, but we're made to clean these places, work there, serve there. Why can't we enjoy it too?
Catherine John, Blackberry United here on Dateline New Haven, WNHH New Haven's home for community radio. She's bringing a crowd, and we're all invited
Yes.
to the New Haven Green from noon to 4 on Sunday, and then a march from 4 to 6 for Workers' Solidarity on International Workers' Day. So I see a list of organizers here, Catherine. I have
Yep.
Latina en Acción, Black and Brown United in Action. Sorry, I left that part out. Workers' Voice, Red de Pueblos, Transicionales, People Center,
Yep.
My Brother's Keeper, Amistad Catholic Worker House, Connecticut Nasty Women. And that's only a partial list. So it's basically the Progressive Mafia.
It's a coalition
Sorry.
of freedom fighters. You said it right. It's a coalition of freedom fighters. We're fed up, Paul. We're tired. We have the Communist Party will be there, Colombian Action, CT, Latinos Unidos, Movento, Cimarron. It's a whole coalition of
So
us.
can you tell me what's going to happen on the Green specifically? What's
So
some
we're
of the
going to
stuff?
have some speakers,
Mhm.
and we're going to have entertainers.
What
right?
kind of entertainers?
We're going to have different performers. I believe we'll have some boomba, if I'm not mistaken, right? Some live performances, some
That'd be fun. That's really
flowetry.
catching on.
I'm saying,
You said flowetry?
I believe so.
I love that. So that's like flowing poetry.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
We're still opening the doors for performers. If anyone is interested, please do reach out. We still are taking a couple last minute performers and speakers. We have some folks who are coming to say what they have to say and not hold back. We need the change and we need
I
it
did
now.
notice you mentioned food first.
Food.
Good move. Food
Yes.
is mentioned first. What kind of food we're going to have?
I believe we're having pizza. We
All
all
right.
love pizza. I mean, we're known for it. Why not?
What's wrong with pizza?
What's wrong with pizza? We have the best pizza in I don't know, all of America, I was told. So why not?
I'm
Why
told
can't
that,
we? Yeah, why not? Show it off, man.
Anything else we should know about the event? It's free. Where's the march going to be, and what's it going to ask for?
So we're gonna do a little march around the block, and we're asking for equity, diversity, and we're asking for jobs. We're asking for a real relief. We want better education for all. We want Medicaid for all. We want domestic workers to be recognized. We want to end period poverty, right? We want to end to all of this. We want some relief. There's no reason why, in my opinion, We have local utility companies that did not say, oh, look at that, there's a pandemic, let's not charge people. They did it anyway, and now a lot of people are in debt. Who is helping these people recover? We are going down to the green to find a recovery because they keep talking about it. I didn't see it yet. Did you?
No, I haven't.
This is what I'm saying.
I don't have great eyesight.
And I have astigmatism, so is that what it is?
And period poverty. That's one issue you've really brought to the fore.
Absolutely.
That wasn't talked about a lot.
Again, the destigmat. To me.
Tell me about, but tell our listeners what that is.
So influenced with the whole destigmatization, because that's what COVID is to me. It really made you face what you didn't want to look at. And period poverty is one of those things that many people hear about. And if they do, they may or may not look at it. And some may not have heard about it at all. So what is period poverty? Period poverty is the lack of access to a very essential need. A period is not a luxury. It's not something we boast about. A woman or those who identify as or have a menstruation, they can't just call it to work and say, I have my period. No, we have to suffer in silence, right? And what we're aiming to do here is to get legislation in place that will help us move toward ending period poverty and changing the cycle. What does that mean? HB 5272.
House bill.
Yep. It's a House bill, and it aims to provide free period products in jails, schools, and shelters. And if you know the stories, I mean, women who are incarcerated or detained, they get one tampon, maybe 3 if that they have to use for an entire cycle. So usually think about that. What are they using while they're on their cycle? And your cycle doesn't have to be just 7 days. It could be up to a couple of weeks, depending on what's going on in your body at the time, And then what about the schools? Many students reported that they didn't even know who to go to if they got their period. Who do they go to? Who can they ask for a period product from? And then as far as the shelters, you already lost everything. Would you really have a period product on you? Period products, at the very least, will cost you about, at least $13 a month, right? So imagine having a cycle that goes up to 3 weeks. How much money are you really spending? And what if you're not the only person in the house who's on the cycle? So this bill, HB 5272, is a step in that direction. It was introduced by the Public Health Committee. It was recently passed through appropriations. We are still asking folks to reach out to their elected officials.
It is crunch time.
It's
so
crunch
what is it
time.
like? The next few days, either going to
That's
die.
right.
I mean, even if you don't get it passed this year, like with the elimination of the death penalty and other reforms, sometimes it takes a bunch of years to go up. But if you get it through a committee one year, you get through one house the next year, you get the 2 houses. With the death penalty, it took getting a new governor. But sometimes you get it sooner. The Crown Act took fewer tries.
Right.
This
has a lot of legislative support.
And you can't think about that way today because the session's on. You got to try to get over the goal line.
Well, this is what I'm saying. We have, frontliners like Gary Winfield on this, Senator Anwar, right? Kushner, Cohen. These are some heavy hitters here, and we need to support that collectively, because you know what? That's another thing that's very stigmatized that we don't talk about. The rights to menstruate, women's rights, the right of the Black and brown women who, by the way, are the most, disenfranchised, devalued on the planet. We don't even get a voice in the struggle. And this bill is one that hits on all the diasporas in that way. That's what's interesting, right? Some of these legislations may stay in a certain, proximity, but this is one that goes across, and I'm really looking forward to this because we need to destigmatize. Let's talk that talk, let's walk that walk, and let's get laws that suit us.
And I was very impressed just watching you try to build a coalition for this, both in real life and online,
Thank
which
you.
is a different kind of real life. I mean, I love your memes. They're great memes. They were fun. You got to have fun.
Yes, and TikToks.
Yeah. But you also got groups together like the Diaper Bank, which actually has some heft behind it politically. And isn't the people who show up at MayDay. I mean, you need more than the people who show up at MayDay, but you also need the people who show up at MayDay.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that's the thing, right? It's just building solidarity through the movement because we all get educated as we move. There are things that I would know that I would educate you on and enlighten you on. But that's why it's called a movement. We come together. A key part is the education piece. The first part is you always educate and then you organize and then you move.
How did you get involved with this issue? How did it come about that you became the leader of a movement to bring period poverty in Connecticut? So
in my daytime role, I am the program coordinator at the Diaper Bank of Connecticut.
And that gives free diapers out.
Great organization. So we have a network of partners throughout the state of Connecticut who help distribute diapers, infant and toddler, adult incontinence, and youth products to people across the state. and the numbers are growing because these are very expensive items. I mean, and also very stigmatized because we have, especially with the older community, you know, you have your bladder and so forth that happens, and you might know about these products. And what is the great thing is like sharing that education piece and showing that you could have a better life and live happier by having this.
So it grew out of your diaper bank work.
Yes.
I mean, even though
absolutely.
obviously you're a human being and knew about the existence of the
Yes.
issue, working on diapers.
Yes. And knowing someone like Representative Robin Porter, who advocated to end period poverty in the jails before, back in 2016, right? So knowing her and taking it from there, because there were other groups who were, as you mentioned before, you know, they will present the bill. This is the first time it's gone this far. So collectively, everyone came together and said, you know what, let's do this thing. So through the diaper bank and a collection of various, you know, comrades, here we are doing it together, including Unidad Latina. You know, we're here, we're distributing diapers and period products, and we're saying, let's destigmatize, let's change the cycle.
Period poverty, working wages, free
yes,
healthcare available to all,
yes,
and even, we'll talk about this another day, safe streets and conditions
Why
for
not?
living and working.
Why
Catherine
not?
John, you're on top of it all. And I love to live in a city where I get to watch you do it.
Thank you for having me.
So good luck this Sunday, May 1st, International Workers' Day, the true Labor Day.
That's right.
Catherine and a whole bunch of groups in town who do great stuff are going to be on the green starting at noon. Speeches, food,
Yes,
music,
pizza.
performance, pizzas, tabling, coming together, then a march ending at 4 o'clock.
That's right.
Starting at 4 o'clock for justice. Be there or be square.
That's right. See you
Catherine
there.
John, thanks for coming on
Thank you
Dateline.
for having me.
We take a little break for our next segment with criminal justice expert John Valeka. And thanks for joining Catherine John here. We're going to take a break with the Afro-Semitic Experience performing I Wish I Knew How It'd Feel to Be Free from the group CD, A Plea for Peace. This is Paul Bass inviting you to fly free with us all day, all night on WNHH New Haven's home for community radio.